Yeah, going live now. Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Oh, Jesus, just ignore that noise. My daughter is at home today. They're on half term. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining me from. My name is Tumibi, and I'm a UK-based parenting expert. So today we're going to be looking at very important topic or aspect of parenting. That is eating disorder in children. Eating disorder in children. I know a lot of us parents worry about our children eating, not eating, are they eating too much? There are a lot of questions that comes around when it comes to eating disorders in children. Questions like, what are the signs? What are the symptoms? When do I know that my child, or at what point do I tell that my child is having eating disorder problems and all of that? So today, our lovely guest speaker will be helping us to answer a lot of all of these questions and will tell us more about eating disorder in children. So I will expect you to, or I'll encourage you either to stay till the end so you don't miss out on any part of this live session because it promises to be very impactful. And without wasting too much of our time, I'll be bringing our guest speaker, Becky Stone, on board. Yes, so bear with me. Thank you. And please do me well to share this live session, share the video, like it, and invite your friends and families, let people come and learn because parenting is first us, the parents, before our children. And also remember, parenting is hard. So you need knowledge, you need information to be able to do parenting well. So give me a few minutes while I invite our guest speaker, Becky, on board. Yeah.
Good morning. Thank you for
Hi,
having me on.
Becky. Good morning. Look at her beautiful face. How are you today?
Oh, thank you. I'm excited and nervous. So hopefully I can answer all your questions.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. I know it's your first time doing live session, but you'll be fine. I can assure you.
Oh, I haven't
How are
done
you
a
doing
live.
today?
Oh no, I'm good. I'm good. It's beautiful weather outside, so hence why the curtains are closed. The sun's beaming
Oh,
in, so I can't wait to get outside later. So no, it's all good.
it's a bit cold actually here this morning.
It is cold, but the sun
Mm.
is beautiful. So, and it's just
Oh,
nice not to have a gloomy Eeyore day, as I call it, with our weather.
oh, that's good. Is Valentine today? Are you celebrating? Are you going out? Are you having a date today? What are you doing?
No, I am just having a chill day. Valentine's Day doesn't really mean a huge amount to me. It's just one of those days
Okay,
that is just a marketing tool. And then we're doing some stuff over the weekend and doing a bit of Bridget Jones at the cinema. So
that's nice.
yeah, just doing it on our own terms instead of what the what society thinks that we should do. So
Yeah, it's about you and what you want, isn't it? So what makes you happy? Yeah,
yeah,
that's
easy
it.
come, easy go.
Okay. Yeah, so we have our guest speaker Becky Stone on board, and I would like you to know one or two things about Becky Stone. So, who is Becky Stone? Just a minute. Um, you're very welcome, Debney. You're welcome, Izodua. Thank you so much for joining this live with us. Thank you. It's lovely to see you. Just a minute. Okay. So who is Becky Stone? Becky Stone is eating disorder therapist and a mental health specialist. For over 15 years, she has worked with adults and teenagers, helping them overcome disordered eating and eating disorders to reclaim a healthy relationship with food and themselves. She offers online therapy, making support accessible no matter where you are. Her experience spans schools, private practice, the NHS, and mental health charities, giving her a deep understanding of the challenges individuals face. She has worked in multi-agency settings, ensuring holistic care that supports long-term recovery. Her mission is to help people break free, create change, and become the best version of themselves. Wow, that is amazing. Well done. You're so loaded.
I just
That
think
is
it's so
lovely.
important. Yeah, I just think it's so important for people just to be their true, authentic selves and
Yeah,
yeah, live life and just be happy.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on, and then a lot of people are not happy because of so many issues out there. So I'm happy that you have a passion to make people happy. Well done.
Thank you.
So yeah, let's dive in now because of our time. Hello, can you hear me, Bex?
Yeah, no, I can hear you. I thought you was going to ask me a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, so the floor is all yours now.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
have got some questions that we'd already pre-pulled together. So one of the questions was eating disorders and in child, can they be cured? So with eating disorders, I think any child can come through, or an adult can come through with eating disorders, and with the right help and the right support, they can come and get recovery. I think the earlier the intervention with eating disorders, the earlier you spot those signs and the quicker you can put strategies in place that's going to work for each individual. Because I think if you work, like, sometimes if you work with the child, you've got to hear what they're struggling with and find the little key things that's going to be achievable for them. So, like, for example, when I was younger, my mum would make me sit and eat all of the food at the table and force feed me. Well, I wasn't allowed to get down from the table until I'd eaten it all. But what the difficulty with that was creating a really sneaky, manipulative side of me. While I was a child, I didn't realise, but I just wanted to get down from the table. I didn't care. So I used to take sandwich bags, scoop the food up, and then either hide it in my top or throw it out the window and go, "Mum, I finished my dinner." So which wasn't a good which isn't a good thing to be doing, which is what actually created a binge eating disorder when I was older, because I was quite sneaky, and like, it was a rebellious side of me that it fed into. So I think when it comes to eating disorders, the quicker the intervention goes in place, and being aware as parents of what food rules you have. Like, I wasn't allowed to get down to the table until I'd eaten all my dinner. Well, actually, the amount of food that got put on my plate was for an adult, it wasn't for a child. So
And you have to finish it.
yeah, and I used to sit there crying, and I'd find any way of getting down from the table. I hated it. But at the time we grew up, my mum didn't have any money. We come from a really poverty stricken background. So my mum just did the best job she could. Like, it came across for me as it was really controlling, but actually my mum just wanted my belly full and wanted me to happy and to thrive. But actually it was causing complications for me, because where I'm ADHD, I don't like being told what to do. But of course I didn't realise. So I think with eating disorders in children, I think it's really, really important to spot the early signs and just recognise what we do as parents. What beliefs have we grown up with? Like, I know I tried to sit my children down at the dinner table and go, "You can't eat, you can't get down from the table until you've eaten all your dinner." Well, actually, that was then triggering them. And it wasn't until I'd gone on the eating disorder training that I know that stuff doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think as parents, we have a really hard job. We don't always get it right and we make mistakes.
Mm.
So, but if anyone is worried about their child and they are concerned about behaviour patterns, or they're losing drastic weight, or you're thinking it's a picky eater, it's finding the foods that they will eat instead of putting so much pressure on them to eat the foods that we want as adults. So it's trying to find that compromise. That it's better that they're eating something than nothing. But if there is, like, if you are really, really concerned, I think the best thing to do is getting into the GP and just keep a log, keep a monitor of what they're eating, what they're struggling with, and just notice patterns. I think is also really, really important, because as parents, I know I had two children at 15 months apart, which wasn't the brightest idea, having two children so close together. But at the same time, I adored them. But as a mum, I was running around like a headless chicken. I wouldn't always notice what I'm doing. So sometimes just writing things down, if you've got concerns, you can spot the patterns, and then you can see whether it needs an intervention put in place or it doesn't.
Okay. So apparently is maybe right if so is it that when they are not eating at all or when they are eating too much?
Either or. So if they're not eating enough, that
Mm.
can also be a really, really life-threatening. Like, food is the one thing that we need as fuel. So if
Yeah.
the person, like the little one, isn't eating enough, I would say to you, get medical attention. Like, going to the
Yeah.
GP. If the GP's sort of brushing you off and not listening, if you've
Mm.
got, if you're getting the weights done, the blood's checked, and you're making logs of what's going on, somebody
Yeah.
has to listen to you. So,
Yeah. Sorry.
and if a child is eating too much, it might
Yeah.
be that, and actually under eating and overeating, you maybe getting professional help put in place, getting a nutritionist who can work with children, who's qualified in that area. So, like for me, I work with the mental health side. I can guide with a bit of nutrition, but it's not my area, it's not my expertise. Mine is working with the underlying, what's the cause, what are the factors going on around the teenager that's really struggling? Is it that there's neurodiversity there? Like, I've got ADHD and dyslexia, so both of those impacted and fueled my eating disorder. And a lot of young people that I work with, they're all undiagnosed, autistic, ADHD, maybe a bit of dyslexia, but being able to spot what they're struggling with can absolutely make a huge difference to their confidence, their self-esteem. It's quite complicated, but there's lots of different areas
Yeah.
that can actually help the young person.
Okay. So would you say, like, when you made illustration with your parents, how they force you to eat and how they'll give you loads and loads of food to eat? So would you say they it was part of you having eating disorder as a child or growing up? Did that influence?
Yeah, it did influence it because I would binge eat a lot. I'd steal food and I'd hide chocolates, and um I'd go to the sweet shop, I'd spend all my money on sweets on the way home, and then my mum would make me a dinner and I'd sit down and say I'm not hungry, and then that would cause a massive argument. And I was struggling emotionally. I was eating my feelings in a way because I was really struggling at school. I had quite a traumatic home life going on. So I just eat a lot of sugar and a lot of crisps and a lot of stuff that would just make me feel good at the time. Um, so yeah, some of the things that happened when it was a control thing, if I was really honest with you. I was eating my feelings, and there's part of me that was screaming out for help, but I just couldn't verbalize it. I just didn't know what to do with it. And it wasn't until I got the eating disorder training that I was like, oh my God, I had a binge eating disorder when I was younger. But I think we just don't notice it, or we
Yeah.
don't want to notice it because we think it's a phase or a habit. But I was quite sneaky.
Yeah. Okay, so for some parents, that could be like most children, like literally every children or most children per se, they like sugary food. They want to eat like all those snacks, like you mentioned, and all that. So, what can a parent do in that regard? You give them like meal food or milk, or they don't want to eat it, but give them like cake, all this sugary eating food. They just finish it. What advice would you give
So I would say give
a parent?
choices. So we've got downstairs these, I have to send you the link, but they're like a little box that have got loads of little pockets that you can put food into. And
Mm.
you can put like cheese and fruit, and you can put chocolate in it and peanut butter, as long as there's no nut allergies and stuff. So you've got lots of choices. So when somebody's had their dinner, for example, give
Mm.
them fruit and a bit of chocolate, or give them fruit and like a yogurt. So you've got choices because your brain will naturally, and it's weird, your brain will naturally choose the fruit.
Mm.
But if you just have like the cake and the sugary food, your brain is going to go straight for that.
Mm.
Where if you've got choices, like with my guys, when I used to take them into the supermarket and my daughter would come back with loads of like chocolate and crisps, and I go, you can have that. Can you also go and choose some fruit? And then I'd come back and it'd be like £3.50 on a tub of mango. And I'm like, oh, the chocolate's cheaper. But the mango is what she really, really enjoyed, and that it was more nourishing. So I would say give those choices, because the more you say to a young person, you can't have that, the more they're going to want it anyway.
Yeah. Power struggle. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually that's what we have as parents. We're constantly power struggling and firefighting through the day.
Oh, thank you for that. So what would you say is eating disorder in essence? What would you how would you describe eating disorder as children?
So I would describe, so I've written a few things down here. So obsession with food, weight, and body image, avoiding meals, making excuses not to eat, rapid weight loss or rapid weight gain, excessive
Mm,
exercise or unusual eating habits. Some of the unusual eating habits could be undiagnosed autism. So that's just something to be mindful in the back of your mind, because I think picky eating can come up, but actually it could be undiagnosed autism. So that's just something to be aware of. You've got emotional distress around eating. You've got secret eating, a bit like what I was sharing with you. You've got
mm,
I can't say it, frequent trips to the bathroom after they've eaten. Are they being sick? So
mm,
is it something that they're eating their food, they're quite panicked after, so they want to then release that. So it's being mindful of like sort of the binge and the purging, or just eating a normal dinner and then purging. They could have not eaten all day at school. You've got the physical effects of malnutrition as well that goes with it, sort of stunted growth, weakened immune system. So if they're not thriving, it might be worth looking into what they're eating. Whether they're really anxious and depressed. So
mm,
food affects anxiety massively. If they're not eating breakfast before they go to school, they're going into school very, very anxious. They're not going to be concentrating. Breakfast is really, really important. So really encouraging that side, because that they can be the little factors that then can cause disordered eating, or even anorexia or atypical anorexia going forward. Is
okay.
that helpful?
Yeah, thank you. And also add okay. So are they like, is there any particular causes or anything that could cause a child not to eat or to eat too much or not to even like food at all or to crave for maybe like sweet things? Is there anything that could be the
It,
cause?
it could be that they're really, really struggling low self-esteem. It could be something traumatic's happened to them, stuff that's going on at home. So it
Mm,
could be life factors that are going on. Sometimes eating disorders come through like parents that they've got their own eating disorder, or the disordered eating. I know that mine came through my family. Like I can see patterns of bulimia and anorexia that come through mine. So I'm
mm,
very aware that it was a generation pattern I wanted to change with both my children. So I
mm,
think it's been really mindful of what we do as parents, like complement. Oh, I can't say it, complimenting our bodies, not shaming ourselves in front of our kids, like
mm,
being able to say nice, positive things about what our bodies look like. Um, because I think if we're not talking nicely about our bodies, our kids are
mm.
going to be saying the same.
Yeah. Oh. So we need to always, affirm ourselves that we look good, especially when our kids are there, just being intentional so it doesn't have an effect on them. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
positive body image is really important.
mm, and also, can a parent tell, okay, how can a parent tell that their child is suffering from an eating disorder? Or at what point would a parent say, okay, there's something going on with my child's eating and not eating? At what
Trust in
point?
your, I would say, as parents, you are your expert of your child. So it's trusting your gut feeling that if you know that your child, with the list that I went through before, which I can send over to you, and you can put underneath the feed when the post goes out. And if anyone wants them, it will be the not eating, long periods of time without eating, um, like weight drop, severe anxiety, maybe hyper focusing on certain foods that they can't, like taking foods out of the diet, saying that, oh, I can't eat that, mummy, or I can't eat that, dad, that might make me, that's got too many calories in it. Listening to little keywords, writing them down, but the earlier the intervention goes in place, the quicker it is to push back onto it. And there's some really great resources on Ask Jen Up's website. She's got some really good resources to help parents. And there's also like a parent and carers support group as well for Jenny Langley's New Maudsley Carers group. So, but it's also about maybe using the Beats website as well. If you've got any concerns that you want to go to the GP about, sometimes GPs are not trained in eating disorders or disordered eating. So you've got a bit of a battle. Not that you've just got to find the right GP to get heard. But I would say trust your instincts, start writing them down if there is a dramatic weight loss or a real spurge in weight gain. And I know that with boys and girls, when they hit puberty, they will naturally put on weight, and no one ever really talks about that. So because we're all changing into like as women and as men, so wherever the period that hormone transition is, people, their bodies naturally change. But if it's an excessive weight gain or an excessive weight loss, then there's concern of what's going on.
Okay, thank you. And so what could be like the negative effects of a child suffering with eating disorder? I know you mentioned one like self-esteem, low self-esteem. So is there other effects that could?
Yeah, perfectionism. So if a child is, and a lot of eating disorders, a lot of people that I work with all have perfectionism. So as human beings, we're not made to be perfect. We're here to make mistakes. We're here to learn from our mistakes. Like, I know I'm far from perfect, and if anybody says to me that you're perfect, I'm going to fall off that pedestal quite quickly. I think a really good tip for parents is asking a young person, what have they failed at today? Because they're not supposed to get it right. So what is the biggest treasure that they've made a mistake for the day? So if they can answer oh, I didn't get this right, mummy, or I didn't get this right, daddy, and then you say to them, well, what would you do differently? What that's doing is, if we can practice that as parents and then the kids can practice that, it breaks down the perfectionism, which means they don't have to get it right, but they can use their thinking brain to find a solution, which then takes away the shame, because shame is one of the biggest factors of eating disorders. That if they're not getting if they're not getting their schoolwork right, will they get the eating disorder right? Will they be the best at that? And that's what feeds it all. So I would say perfectionism and low self-esteem are the two biggest factors, and maybe trauma. Yeah, like, I don't know, loss. Like, I work with some people who've lost their parents, or they've lost a loved one, and they can't bear that gut-wrenching feeling of loss. So the eating disorder either feeds, like the binge eating will feed the feeling, so it goes away and they get a quick fix. Or if it's an eating disorder as anorexia, it numbs off the feeling, so they don't have to deal with the pain. But all they've got to focus on is counting calories, or when the next meal's coming from, where the anxiety's coming from. So I think if it's a trauma based, it's quite complicated, but it's really getting therapy put in place.
Getting therapy.
Yeah, get some therapy, or find somebody that is trustworthy and somebody who you can like, that person really shares that information, even if it's like, it's not mum or dad, it's like an aunt or an uncle that is able just to sit and listen. As long as that child is talking and being heard, that's really important, having a voice.
Oh yeah, having a voice and being listened to, feeling heard and seen.
Yeah, heard. I think that's really, really important, being heard.
Yeah.
And also, just before my brain forgets, understanding feelings. So, like, parents, you can print off a PDF with a feelings wheel on it. So when parents say, oh, how do you feel, 9 times out of 10, if you said to me, how do you feel, it won't just be a one-word answer. I've got lots of different feelings that I feel quite intensely all at one time. So if parents can give like their teenagers or the little ones a choice of how many feelings they are, even if it's on like little cards, for example, or being able to really voice it, the more feelings they understand, the easier it is to avoid eating disorders as well.
Because if you give them option, they're able to say, maybe I'm feeling hungry, feel tired, or I
Yeah.
feel sick or something. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's getting them
Mm,
to understand their feelings in their bodies and what they're
mm,
thinking and what they're feeling is so important.
mm.
But it's really hard when you're running around as a parent trying to accommodate everything in to doing everything. So I
Right.
completely get it. It's not easy.
Parenting is hard work, isn't it? That's why we say parenting is a very big hard work.
It's a
It is
really, I
hard
mean,
work.
it is a really hard job. I mean, I was a single parent for years, and
Hmm,
bringing up, being a single parent, I think it's harder because you're doing two people's jobs as well as work.
absolutely.
Yeah, working, I call it juggling glass balls in the air, trying to make sure nothing falls down. I can remember turning up at work and my friends would go, "Oh my God, what's happened to them?" I'm so tired, I can't hold it together. It's
I
hard
can
being a
imagine.
parent.
It is. It is that. So, would you advise parents to, instead of saying, "How do you feel?" Maybe because sometimes it might not be so easy to get like all the feelings out. Maybe tweak it to like, "Can you tell me how?" Would you maybe like tell me how you feel? Would that? Do you think that would be better
Really
instead
good.
of yeah?
But as a suggestion, most kids don't like eye contact or being asked that direct question. So it might be you ask like the teenager when they're in the car, for example, the music's playing, you're driving along, like they can't get out the car,
Mm,
but you've got the music blaring, you're driving along asking the questions. You're more likely to get a conversation with your child in a neutral place than sitting there going, "Tell me what's wrong, how are you feeling, what's happening, what's the problem?" You're not going to get anything out of them. It might just be that you're walking, you catch them in their bedroom when they're playing and they're pottering around. You know your child best. Sometimes the car tends to be a really nice neutral place.
yeah. Okay. So not making it formal. Is that what you're trying to say? You're not
Yeah,
having a formal conversation, yeah.
yeah, nice and
How
neutral as much as you can do.
how we do that most times. Sit down here. How you feeling? Tell me what you feeling. Are you feeling?
I know when I've
Oh
done it
my
with my
God.
guys. Yeah, I know when I've done it with my guys, asked them a direct question. "Oh, shut up, mum," and they like, I won't get anything out of them. But if I can get them while where they're walking, or I can get them while they're in the car, or I can catch them while I'm cooking and they're pottering around in the kitchen, I'm more likely to get a decent conversation out of them than trying to sit them
Hmm,
down like, "Right, what's going on for you?" Yeah, that don't work.
hmm. So knowing the right time to ask the right question. Well done. Well done. That is so profound. And also another question I have here is, are there or is there any particular age that is attached to eating disorder in a child? Is there any
Um,
particular age?
yeah, it tends to be between 8 and 12. I think that once I see a pattern with young people between about year 5 and year 6 leaving primary school. That
Hmm,
can be quite a real struggle, that transition of going into secondary school. And I don't know, people, young, especially young girls, they hit puberty a lot earlier now. So it could be around that time where their bodies are changing, they're not ready for it, or they're not ready to go to secondary school and they just don't want to go. They don't want that change. So eating disorders can creep in there. And then I would tend to say between year 8, so that tends to be, is that 12, year 8? Year 8
I'm sure.
upwards.
Yeah, eight upwards.
A
Hmm.
lot of,
So
oh, go on.
yeah, go on. You
I was
finish your
gonna
statement.
I was gonna say a lot happens around year 8. I don't know what happens, but a lot of people won't eat in front of each other. So they go into the food hall, it's overwhelming, their friends are not eating, they skip meals, they say to their parents, "Oh, I've eaten." a big pattern is that if they're given money for school and you're not seeing it come off, is it called a finger? You know, when they register their finger and they take money off at the canteen, if you're
Mm.
noticing that they're not buying lunch, that's a little bit of a red indicator. If they're skipping breakfast, and a lot, especially around GCSEs, there is a real spike in eating disorders, especially anorexia.
Mm.
And then sometimes around A levels, it's very highly pressured exam season. They don't know where they want to go in their careers. Eating disorders can really bubble up there as well. Each person is so unique. So it's really difficult, but there's little patterns that I see that come through in therapy, and it comes through
Mm.
in waves as well. Like just before Christmas, I'll be really, really busy. Christmas is quite a triggering time for a lot of young
Oh, how?
people.
How?
Um, Coming together with families, having to that pressure of Christmas time. There's a lot of food around at Christmas. So that
Mm.
pressure of having to sit down and eat in front of people, they don't want to do it.
Oh,
We have a lot more crisps and chocolate and like more luxury foods, as I call it. But we have this thing of good and bad food. So, and actually, there's no such thing as good and bad food. It's just everything comes in balance.
yeah.
So that is a little tip for parents as well. It's taking away those keywords of good and bad foods, because there isn't such a thing. It's just about, okay, quantity, balance, and making sure that there's a lot of nourishment there.
Mm. Or like me, I use healthy food and non-healthy food. So would you say I should take it away?
It's just about, there's maybe saying that there's more nourishment in this food. This food is like, you can have this food, but you've got to
Yeah.
have this one first.
Okay.
Because the more you say good and bad foods, the more your child's going to rebel against you.
Hmm.
But it's also, you want your child to have the best foods that they can eat. So you're in a bit of a difficult position as well as a parent. But I would
Well, I
I
want
would
my
give,
children to eat healthy.
yeah, it's about choices.
Yeah. Yeah,
Choices
you've
and
mentioned it
balance.
earlier. Yeah. So so you said eating disorder, like it's majorly attached, or you saw pattern, you've noticed pattern in older children, between children in year 5, year 6, there down the line. So what happens to like our toddlers, babies when they don't want to eat? Maybe some of them are not eating or they are eating too much. At that stage, is there
If
anything
they're
that's
with toddlers that don't work with really, really little ones. So I would say, if you're as a mum, and with what I know from disordered eating with little ones, they are going to go through phases. They are going to eat at certain times. They're going to eat more at certain times in their growth and not eat so much when they're teething. Like with my grandson, he's got different patterns of what he does. If you are concerned and there is patterns of long restriction there, or behaviors that are going on, I would say log it, get it all written down, and you go to the
hmm,
GP and you get, is it a paediatrician for little ones? I
yeah,
would say access the NHS and you access that support, or find a nutritionist who can work with children that are really little,
okay,
because they have got to have, I mean, me and Jen work together for nutrition. She's a nutritionist, she's qualified, but I think she's 11 and upwards with what her insurance will give her. So I think you need to find somebody who's qualified in that area.
okay. Yeah, thank you for that honest
Oh,
advice.
oh, you're welcome.
And then I think this is probably going to be our last one because of time. Um, I've heard a lot of parents, professionals, or, there's this ideology that eating disorder is commonly among female children, and also that parents, mothers especially, are responsible. What would you say in this regards? Do you think it's true, and how does it work? How does mothers, influence their children's eating disorder?
So eating disorders can come within boys or girls. I think it predominantly it comes through as girls. But I work with a lot of young teenage boys who have got eating disorders. It just for some reason is not spoken about enough with boys. Um,
Oh,
and I think each kid, I think as parents, it's talking about good positive body language. I mean, don't get me wrong, we all have bad days when we don't feel great, but it is about giving positive compliments, giving ourselves compliments and complimenting the people that we have around. Like when I met you and I came on, you was like, oh, you look lovely today, and I was like, oh, thank you. And I think us as humans, like sharing really good positive role models about our bodies, watching what we're absorbing on social media as well, because I think social media has a big impact on us as humans as well. I call it doom scrolling because you're constantly doing this. um but I think it's about positive awareness, really good strong boundaries, but also with our children it's making sure what they're watching on social media, putting limits on it, not taking it away, but just watching what they're doing as well, creating good food, and actually building up their self-esteem. So as parents we can do quite a lot, but sometimes we don't have all the answers. So the parents aren't the problem and they are not to blame. They are part of the solution as well. So I would say, as parents, if you've got any concerns, do reading around the eating disorder. I think knowledge is power. And it's being able to find patterns and solutions to help your child that's going to work for your child. Because, like, some things are not going to work. If you said to me, sit down and eat mashed potato, can't think of anything worse. But if you said to me, can you sit down and have egg on toast? I'd eat that. So I think it's about finding what is going to work for the child and encouraging really good patterns. But I think the biggest bit is good self-esteem. Is that helpful?
yeah. Thank you so much for doing this live. Is there any final word you want parents to know? Any
If
final
you've got,
advice to give parents in regards to eating disorder in their children? Yeah.
I would say trust your instincts. If you're worried and other people are like, oh, no, don't worry about it, it's just being picky. As parents, we have that primal protectiveness of our kids. Trust it, write it down, get as much evidence as you can do, weight loss, weight gain, get it all put down on paper, and then go and find the right help until you're heard. I
Yeah.
think it's really, really important to be heard, because I think we know the answers as parents because we've got it stuck deep inside us. So yeah, just trust your instincts.
Trusting your instincts and then writing it down, following the pattern, check the patterns, and then finding the rightful help.
Yeah, finding the right help and getting it done sooner than later. Sometimes it's like I work with young people this has been going on for months, like not noticed, and then it's escalated, and then we're in a bit of a difficult position trying to get that person back on track again. The sooner it gets supported and the help goes in place, the quicker recovery is. The longer it gets left, the harder it is to get through it.
So early intervention is
Yeah,
very
early
important.
intervention is important, and just knowledge. I think if you're worrying about stuff, read up on it. Find some patterns that are going to help.
What the challenge with reading up, especially in Google, is that a million amount information out there, and sometimes these information they are confusing.
Oh,
You don't know which is right and which is wrong. So how do you tell this is what I'm reading is the right one? What have you got there?
do you know what? This is really weird because I've just had that sitting next to me. But I mean, this one's anorexia and other eating disorders.
Okay.
I would say find a book with a combination of information in it. This one's
Okay.
predominantly for anorexia, but I've got other books on the side that have got other stuff around eating disorders. It's about finding maybe a book that is relatable and then collecting up the knowledge. I think Google you can go down a rabbit hole with. So I would say
There's a lot in there in Google.
yeah. I would say maybe look on the Beats website. Beats website's a pretty good one.
Okay. So thank you so much. I appreciate you for your time and thank you for doing this with us. We really, really appreciate you and we hope to bring you back again next time. Thank
Oh,
you.
no, thank
And I
you.
trust you enjoy the rest of your day.
Oh, thank you for having me on as well.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to have you on board.
Oh,
And
oh,
then I've
thank
got
you.
opportunity to see your face.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to log off, but it has been so amazing to be here with everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
you're welcome. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Yeah. Bye bye. Yeah. So we have learnt a lot on eating disorder in children. What is your take home? If you're still joining me or if you're going to catch this live and replay, please, what she has talked about is eating disorder in children. What is eating disorder, the signs, the symptoms, and my take home is understand the pattern. Always write down whatever your children is eating, the quantity, whether they are eating or not, when they are eating, write it down because it will help you. As long as you're writing it down, it will help you. You have a help you have a look at everything they've what they've been doing in terms of their eating. Then you'll be able to trace any pattern. And once you're able to figure out the pattern, it will help you, like you said, early intervention is very important. It will help you seek early intervention and not just seeking early intervention, but seeking the right intervention for your child. Like we said, seeking the right one. There's a lot of information out there, but seeking the right one. So my take home is writing that, documenting, and then following pattern. And there are a lot of questions she answered in that regard. So I trust you catch replay if you have missed it. And thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Zudua. Thank you, Depney. Thank you, Value Monetization. I appreciate you all. And I'll see you guys again next time. And yeah, it's Valentine's Day today, isn't it? Yeah, enjoy your Valentine. And for those of you that celebrate, though, also remember to include your children because Valentine is about love, sharing love. Also, remember your children in it. Children too deserve love. Every child needs to be heard. Every child deserves to be seen and not just heard and seen, but heard and seen in their own way. There's a way to love a child. It is one thing to love a child, it's another thing for your child to feel your love. So, yeah, my live session on Sunday is going to be how we can help our children, how we can understand our children's love languages, and how we know their love and help them feel love their own way. But sometimes we think we love our children, and without our children feeling our love, so I will encourage you not to miss that live session on Sunday because it promises to be very, very impactful. And yes, like I said, enjoy your vows and Valentine's Day, and also put your children involved. You can write them a letter, say something nice to them as well. So yes, and we'll be calling it a day today. Thank you all for joining, and I'll see you all again. Bye bye.